Welcome back to another DIY video. Today we will be making Revenant. I've been playing a lot of Nightreign lately and I fell in love with her design and I was like, yo, I need to make her. Now the base doll I used is a little unorthodox. I used multiple doll parts of a Monster High doll. It's a little creepy, but it kind of fits the character. And it all worked out in the end. So let's get into it. To begin, yeah, told you guys this is gonna be creepy. Anyway, finding a backing for this head was a little difficult, so I just plopped that on there and did a paper mache method to put the two pieces together, as super glue did not work in this case, along with sanding it down. For the yarn wefts, there's my yarn, a animal hairbrush, and an iron. I will link the tutorial below on what I used to make my yarn wefts so you can follow that along as I did. When I was happy with the amount of yarn wefts I had, I then started to glue them on her head. Moving forward was to the top. There is a lot of detail. I didn't do all the detail as it would have looked too clumpy, so we're gonna break it down into a few pieces. For the majority of her clothing, I use this muslin cotton kind of stuff as it's easy to cut out and work with. Now her sleeves are just triangular long sleeves and I cut it to where her wrist bends. Now for her top, I made it into a corset piece. There are 4 panels to this, 2 in the front and 2 on the back. Now for her triangular sleeves, I measured from the top to the bottom, and before I sewed the pieces together, I measured that part and made a braid. Now for the braids, I made these out of felt and, well, braided them, and then I glued them onto the sleeve itself. Now for any of the ruffled parts, I found a piece of fabric that was already like hemmed, to say, and I used that for the entirety of the ruffles. Now for the flower parts on her corset, this was a little difficult to make. I made little triangles, and then I would put a little dollop of hot glue in the middle and made these like star looking flowers. Now here's the finished sleeves and corset. I then went right ahead and cut out some white squares. These white squares resemble the little cuffs that are around her wrists. For her skirt, it's pretty simple. I did not add that braid part as it would have been a little too much on the doll. I used chalk pastels and an animal brush to make the skirt look worn. The skirt itself was nothing more than a blue square, and then I used thread to gather the fabric to make it look like a skirt. For the puffy things on her hips, I layered the fabric with one piece, and then I added the ruffles and then another piece and sewn all the way around. This was the larger part of the puffy thing. I also made a tinier version, using the same process. I then sewn them directly to the skirt. For the paint job, I painted her ultimate form. I unfortunately did not video this. Here are the photos of process. I first started with a basic blushing on her lips and around the eyes. Furthermore, I added the black backdrop for the skull area, white for the eye, and then blue cracking of her porcelain skin. I then kept adding more and more detail to her skull area using layers of light blue and dark blue and hints of black and gray. Later on, I decided to add a fake eyelash to her eyeball. For her cape, I used the same exact blue fabric I did for the skirt, and I found this gold trim. First, I weathered the cape, and then added the trim on it. Pretty simple. Now we're moving forward towards the more intricate pieces. To start, I made these gold coins out of resin. I made them out of silver, gold, and then somewhere a hint of bronze. To make my blueprint, I had 3 on the bottom, 3 on the top, 1 on the 2 sides. I added a chain in the middle to connect them all. This, of course, was all hot glued. Now we're moving forward to the last piece on her, which is her headpiece. This consists of flowers, chains, and some of those gold pieces, along with a very sheer white veil. For the connecting pieces, I used old parts of a necklace that I no longer wore, glued them together, and then I made the base. For the flowers, I took some felt that I used some chalk pastel on,
and rolled it up into little petals. I then glued the individual petals together to make the soft blue flowers that line her crown. For the darker blue flowers, I rolled these instead to make them larger. I also braided her little braids. She has 2 on each side, and I added the leftover gold resin pieces onto them too. For her lyre, I cut out a simple shape out of foam, used white paint, silver, and a little bit of thread. I painted on the designs that are on her lyre and strung over the thread. I also added black paper to hold the lyre strings in place, and with that, she is finished.